Hi everyone, it's Theresa, and today I am going to show you some of my favorite spring and Easter DIYs from last year. And don't forget to subscribe if you like what you see so you can catch my new stuff that will be coming up soon. First, we're going to start off with one of these rugs from the Dollar Tree, and I went ahead and cut out with my Cricut a stencil for it. This was my first time giving this a try, and you just wait. I was so happy with it. You'll see in just a minute though. So it's just going to be Honey, I'm Home, and it's got some bees in it, and that's pretty much what all of today's projects are like some kind of bee related thing. It was so funny when I first told my husband I was going to do this kind of video. He was like, oh yeah, I get it, because you're Theresa B. And I was like, oh, totally didn't think of it that way, but you're right. That works perfectly. So I was really focusing on getting this stencil vinyl to kind of sit down as best as I could. And then I thought, like, first I was like, well, let me try to go in with a brush. And that didn't work quite so well. So I was like, let me just try to, go in with that. Didn't really work out. And I'm going to end up getting just a little sponge brush. These are from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to pounce all over this. And the paint that I actually used is some Arteza outdoor acrylic paint. So it's specifically made for outside, and I'm hoping that it's going to hold up pretty well. I really liked how thick it was, so it worked really well in that aspect. So I'm going to leave it linked for you below. I got mine off of Amazon. It wasn't sent to me. I bought it myself. But I am going to leave that linked for you below in case you're interested. I bought, I think, like a 30 pack or 24 pack. I can't remember off the top of my head. So this is just the black one that they have, in there in the pack. And I'm going to do that pretty much for the whole thing with the exception of the bee. So what I did is on the bee, I took out the outline part, and you can kind of start to see it here. I took out the outline of the bee first to do that in black, and then I was like, well, I'm going to freehand the other parts of it. And I'll show you in a minute how I ended up doing that, and it worked out really good. So you just, I would probably recommend, I only did one layer of the black. I would recommend doing two. I really wish I had done two, but I was so excited to get this taken off to see how it looks. And I was really, really impressed that it did not have like hardly any bleeding. And then, so once I'm done taking off the main part of the vinyl, I am just going to go in with my little weeding tool and pull off, any of the other stuff, the other little parts that are just making the letters out. And like I said, I was so happy with how this came out. I was like doing my little happy dance off camera, obviously, because you can't see me, but I was just really excited how it turned out. So now once I take off all of these little pieces to the bee, this is important if you do this project, make sure you keep the outline, that you initially took off to make the black. We're going to put that back down when we're ready to do all of the other colors. If you decide to do that, I'll show you at the end how it looked both ways, with the color, without the color. So same thing, just pulling off all of that excess stencil and then getting all of the other little pieces. Obviously this little part up in the corner was a lot easier and faster because it didn't have all the letters and all that. So once that's done, like I said, I tried to do it freehand, and I was like, you know what, let me put the stencil part like back down. So save that if you decide to do this. I liked it with both ways, like without the color and with the color. So it depends on your vibe, if you're going for more bright stuff, if you're going for more neutral, it kind of is nice that this project can, go either direction. And I was really surprised. This little rug carpet thing from Dollar Tree, it is, I believe, a 16 by 24, and it's really thick. So I really like this. I wish it was a plain one and didn't have any of this like pattern behind it, but I was okay with it. So I used kind of more of like a pointier brush for the yellow part and a little bit flatter brush for the white wings. And what I'd kind of come to see is I like the flat brush, but you definitely want to pick a brush that's a lot denser. And I'm so sorry if you hear that in the background. Of course, the kids cannot play with anything that doesn't require a lot of noise when I'm trying to do a voiceover. So once I was done with that, I do peel off that little bit, and there you can see the difference, the one with the color and the one without. I just really loved it. Alright, so for the next project, we're going to start off with one of these little wood houses from Dollar Tree. And I removed everything and I'm going to paint it in this maze chalk paint from Waverly. And then on the edges, I'm going to do the color ink from Waverly. And this one, of course, is just home is where my honey is. Isn't that adorable? I couldn't get over it. So we're just going to apply that, of course, onto our house. Now the house itself, the yellow, I want to say that's probably about 3 coats, and then it's only 1 coat on the black, because that paint, I tell you what, that stuff is just there. And next we're just going to, of course, going to add some twine, because when you don't know what to do, you just add twine to it. So we're just going to kind of roll that around a few times, and then I'm just going to go ahead and give it a quick little snip. And I wasn't sure, I was like, should I do a little bow? Should I do a little something else? So I'm going to add this little bead charm. I want to say I got it from Michael's. It was like $2.50 maybe. So I think it's a cute little touch. And then once we've gotten that secured, I'm just going to go ahead and glue down the twine on the back side of the house, making sure it's good and secure. And we're just going to give it a quick snip and we will just move on. And I couldn't find my little tool, so I just like, oh, just smudge it with this. And it needed a little something else, so we're just going to add a little bit of greenery and just one tiny little flower, just to give it a little pop of, you know, something to break up that yellow. Because this video, these projects, you will see there is a lot of yellow. So at first I thought just the 1 leaf, then I decided, you know, let me give it an extra leaf. So here is the final project. It's super pretty, super cute. I love it. I just love everything from this video. All right, so I've got this little block of wood. It's roughly like 5 1/4 or so, you know, wide and tall, because it's square. And I did stain it with and I will list the color of the stain for you below. And I'm going to add this Be Kind with a couple little bee accents here, and I'm just doing the same kind of thing with, you know, just stamping the same little applicator that I used before. And I've got the same color chalk paint, you know, ink from Waverly. And I think that these are all just so sweet and you know, cute and everything. They're perfect for spring, and just can't get over it. I cannot get over this whole theme of the videos. You guys will have to let me know, do you like these videos that are more like one overall theme? Do you like things a little bit different, so you can kind of pick and choose what you like? And I'm going to do my best as well on all of these decals. I designed a lot of them, so if I can link them for you below or show you where I'm going to get it, I will do that. And here's the satisfying moment. I had to zoom it in for you, of peeling off the stencil and getting it nice and crisp. And I just had to share that with you because it's so satisfying. It's so weird, but it's so satisfying. Tell me below, do you guys like to do that too? Is it really satisfying for you when it's nice and it's clean? So after that, we're just going to, of course, go through, and I'll zoom you know, I had to turn up my light so I could see it a little easier. I'm just going to go through and peel up all of the extra little pieces of the vinyl, just to, you know, make my letters, you know, look like the letters they're supposed to be. So I almost thought, and I should have done it, I was thinking about putting like a word count in here of every time I say the word bee. And then I decided I wanted to distress this a little bit. Originally I wanted to distress the black part, but when I did it across the top part of the wood, the black almost looked like it smeared a little bit. And I mean, that paint had been on there for, you know, at least a day or two. So I was afraid to do it. I'm going to take these 2 new little things of cotton twine from Dollar Tree, yellow and black, because I need to, you know, tie it all in with all the other projects today. And I'm just going to, of course, give it, you know, a nice little spot to sit on the back. And we'll just spin it around a couple of times. I think I did like 4, and I was trying to do almost like a little bit of a like twisting it a little so you could see some of the black, some of the yellow. I think it really stood out really nicely. And then I was like, well, let me do a little knot so it has somewhere to hang. And then I think eventually I just kind of gave up. Yeah, I just gave up. I was like, no, it's not going to happen today. So let's just glue it on and it'll be just fine. And I was like, well, of course I need a little bow. So we're just going to take a few, you know, just a couple inches of the ribbon cotton twine, whatever we're going to call it today, both colors. And I'm just going to do just a cute little shoestring bow, nothing particularly fancy. You guys know I'm not the greatest when it comes to bows, so do that, and I'll just trim off the excess, and I'm going to glue it down, make it kind of look like it's what was, you know, holding it all together. But I wasn't done yet. I had my husband make this for me. He has a 3D printer, so it's just really cute, and he has the file. I'll link it for you below in case anybody has a 3D printer. You could make it too. Here it is, all finished. It's so freaking cute. I can't get over it. I can't get over the cuteness today. All right, so we got these little blocks from Target in the dollar spot. There were 3 of them for $3, so I was happy with it. I just did a full coat of, like, probably 3 coats again of this yellow. And I'm going to take this little honeycomb and I'm just going to find a good spot. I was kind of debating, like, obviously I was debating because I keep moving it. I was debating on where I wanted to put it, if I wanted to put it at an angle, if I wanted to keep it straight. I kind of ended up leaving it pretty much straight-ish, maybe a tiny bit of a tilt. And I am using transfer tape. I know most of the time people are like, oh, you don't really need to use it for stencil vinyl. But I was like, how in the world do you use stencil vinyl without transfer tape and keep all the little pieces in the middle? So I wasn't going to attempt it. Who knows? You guys will have to let me know. Is there a way to do that? So I am going to just go in with that Adirondack white paint, and here we go. Another moment of satisfying, you know, paint peeling backing. I'm just gonna, except I'm not gonna show you every little bit of it coming off, but there's the outside part, and then I do of course remove all of the little octagons in there as well. And now I'm gonna distress it. It was a little too stark white. Now if I'd made them a little thinner, I think I definitely could have gotten away with it, but I didn't want it to be so like abundantly white, and I needed a little bit of distressing going on. So I get my handy dandy finger sander. I got it at Target. I'm going to list that for you below. And then I take my handy dandy ladybug vacuum. You know, it's not a bee, but we'll have to forgive it. And we're just going to do this stencil on here, happy as can be. And I totally didn't notice it, but one of the wings wasn't white. I ended up going back and painting it. So I hand cut like those little white parts for the wings. I know I could do it layering on my Cricut, but I just ended up doing it by hand. I figured that was going to probably be a little faster. So here it is. See, I painted it. I fixed it. It's so cute though. Again, so cute. All right, guys, you know how I am with gnomes. If you've been watching me, I'm not very good at them. So for this one, I started off with a gnome. My husband's son, so funny. He's like, you didn't make a gnome. You cheated. You just dressed a gnome. So I'm going to add some of these river rocks to the bottom because this is just a leftover ornament from Christmas. I have a couple more of these, so you never know. You might see more gnomes in the future now that I've decided I can do it as long as I have something to start with. So next, of course, we're just going to seal them shut with our glue gun. And I could have done it with like some needle and thread. It probably would have looked a little bit nicer and a little more finished, but who wants to get that out? So I am just going to use my glue gun just to seal them all up. And then I have this little bit of striped fabric. It's really not even fabric. It came from a little skirt from Dollar Tree in the kids section. I bought 2, don't worry. I bought 1 for my daughter and 1 for this project. So she didn't feel like, you know, I was butchering her little costume. So I cut a piece bigger than I think I needed because I've done that in the past and ended up, you know, having to scrap it because it just didn't want to work. And then I'm just going to kind of do a gluing all around, you know, where the hat goes basically. And I actually had to iron this little thing too because it was just all wrinkled, you know, in the packaging and all that. So I'm going to just start draping it along, and then as I go, I'll start to actually trim it down. See, like now I was like, okay, let me go ahead and trim it down. I think I'm safe. And so I'll do that. Trimmed it down, and now I'm going to trim the other side. I'm like, okay, I'm safe. I'm going to trim down the top. And I'm not really worried about making a really nice clean line on, you know, these. I'm going to make it more of like a faux seam in the back anyways. It's very loose interpretation of a seam. So I'll fold it over just to try to make it look a little bit nicer, and just basically just keep adding glue wherever you can, wherever makes the most sense to try and hold it all together. This poor little guy is just held together by river rocks and glue and hot glue sticks. but it's okay. He'll end up really cute. You'll see in a minute. And just basically continue that all along the way, and I'm gonna just kind of fast forward you through just so we can get to the reveal of this little guy. I do want to show you how I finish off the hat. I'm basically just folding over and kind of bringing it to like one little spot in the center-ish area of his head area. So we'll just basically keep doing that, and I'm folding it kind of as I go, and then here he is. It's kind of skipped through it, but you get the basic idea. So now, of course, our little bee gnome needed to have some wings. So this is just a little headband. It's the same like collection. I cut out the wings, and then we're going to glue it all on his back to give him some nice little wings. And don't worry, again, I have an extra set that my daughter has. That way she didn't feel like I stole her stuff. Because if I bring it home and it's a toy or girly, you forget about it. She thinks it's hers. So we just add the wings, and then there he is. He's so cute. Isn't he adorable? Little bee gnome. So next project, we are going to take one of these little laundry signs from Dollar Tree, and we're just going to pop off the back of it. Be very careful. There are several pins, nail things in it, so make sure you get those out. I'm just going to pull all of those out of the frame with my, little, I cannot talk, little tweezer plier things. And those are going to be linked for you below. There's a set of 3. They're really great for these little projects when they're really, like fine spots that you're trying to get into. So then once we've gotten rid of all of them, I believe there were like 6 or 7. It's like so funny how Dollar Tree is about securing some things and not others. Because like that, whoop, there it goes. No, I don't even need to use a heat gun. So I'm going to use this printable here. I'm going to have that linked for you below, of where you can go and download it. I'm going to probably have that in a Google Drive folder, so you can go over there, check it out, download it. It's just a printable. This way you can make some projects like I did. I'm going to have as many of them as I can in that same folder. So this was just kind of cute. It was just a, be happy, be kind, be humble. I just really like the idea of it. So I just take a big glue stick, put it on the actual backing. I did sand the backing a little bit just because it had some rough spots from where those nails were holding it in. Then just to put it back in our frame, and just do a little bit of hot glue in the corners, and we're just going to plop it on in there. I liked the color of the outside frame, so I didn't even want to change that. I just loved that darker natural look to it. So I'm just going to get out some extra glue, and here it is, all finished. Again, it'll be linked for you below. Now we're going to do a beaded garland. These are just some round beads. I've already painted them, as you can tell, and I'm going to go through and add some antiquing on the yellow beads. Now, if you want to reduce some of the yellowness, just use the natural wood instead of the yellow. I thought about it, but then I ended up painting it. I've got this little cutout I've got from the farmer's market calendar from Dollar Tree. It's one of the ones off of the back, and I just put it on a little piece of wood. My camera didn't want to like me very much at the moment, so it didn't record it for whatever reason. And I just punched a hole in it, just using a little, Dremel tool to get a hole in there. And then we're just going to feed our twine through it. I was smart about it this time. I made sure I put some tape on the edge of my twine. Left a little bit of slack, otherwise your wood beads don't have anywhere to really move. And then we're going to get another one of those charms, and we're going to use that on there too. So at first I tried just to do some of the antique wax on it, and then I was like, no, it needs a little something else. So I'm going to use a little bit of the wax and a little bit of the mineral colored chalk paint from Waverly, just to give it a little age. I mean, I aged the beads. The bead couldn't be super shiny and new, so I went ahead and did that, and I'm just going to kind of wipe a little bit of away, maybe add a little more antique wax, just kind of work with it until it gets to the point where you like it, or you can leave it completely silver. It's completely up to you. It's your choice. It's your project. So I'll just string that through, and I'll, just do a nice little knot, hold it in place. I doubled it because I wasn't sure how secure one knot would be, so I'll cinch it down and get it kind of in a good spot, trim it off. And here you go, all finished, really cute and pretty, just adding a little more neutral tones, to our abundantly yellow area. So I have this little bee honey dabber that my husband made off his printer again, and I painted it in that same chalk paint and did some black on the edge. And now I'm going to do a little bit of antiquing. Now, initially when I put it in there, I did glue it just to make sure it doesn't come off, and I'm just adding some of that antique wax from Folk Art, or you can use the Waverly one if you have that one. We'll just kind of go over that quite a bit. It just depends on what you want to do. If you want to leave it kind of more like a natural color, that would be really pretty. If you don't have anybody to give you it from a 3D printer, they do make it from Hobby Lobby too. And then as a little added detail, I'm just going to put on this little bee that my husband made, again, from his 3D printer, and I hand painted. It's just a cute little touch, just to kind of finish that one off. Now we're going to take this ball mason jar, just a small one, cover it in, you guessed it, yellow paint. And now we're going to add some extra details. I took this is kind of like the leftovers from one of the stencils earlier, as you can tell, since it's all black. And I'm just going to put it in just a couple of places, trying to make sure that it's really adhered to it. And I just went over it with some black paint. I messed up in a spot, but that's okay because we're going to antique it. So I'm just going to take my finger sander again and just kind of give a little bit of distressing and kind of give it a little spots here and there. And we'll go over this whole thing with the antique wax, kind of going with the same look as I gave the honey dabber. Honey dabber? Honey dauber? You guys will have to tell me, what exactly is that little thing called? I was like, oh, it's a honeycomb, but it's not a honeycomb because that's the little thing the bees live in. So let me know down in the description box or down in the comments if you know what it's called. Next, we're going to take that black cotton twine again, and I'm just going to put it all around the top part. I thought about painting like stripes on there, but I'm not capable of making straight lines, especially not free-handed straight lines. I'm shocked I was able to do it at all on that little bee that I have on there, on the little honey dabber thing. And even with painter's tape, I was like, this is just not going to happen today, so let's not try. So I was like, well, if I add a little bit of black twine to it, that'll kind of look like a stripe, like a bee. So I was like, hey, that's kind of cute. And then I just did a quick little finger bow. I would give you like advice on how to do it, but it would probably be horrible advice because I'm really bad at doing bows. So I would say your best luck is to find another person to show you how to do it because it's definitely not me. So I'm going to just trim off the edges. I didn't want a tail on it. And here it is, all finished. Super cute. All right, on to our last project. This is from Hobby Lobby, this little rolling pin. I'm going to cover it with the white, or not the white, goodness gracious, with the yellow and the black. And then I'm going to add my little decal on there that just is a bee happy. And I just thought it was the sweetest little thing. So I'm going to just add that on there. It's just, you know, the happy with a little swiggle and the bee, and it's just so stinking cute. I don't know what it is about bees with me this year. I just think they're all so cute. So we're just going to add that onto our little rolling pin. And I know they make these in other places too, so sometimes you can get them a little bit bigger as well. Just kind of depends on what you're going for. These might end up on like a tiered tray or just as a shelf sitter. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure where they're going in my house, but they're going somewhere. Here it is all finished up. It's just super cute. First, we're starting off with one of these houses from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to hit that a little bit with my heat gun to kind of loosen up that adhesive because I really don't want to destroy the whole thing, and I have a tendency to do that. So once I do that, I just kind of put my putty knife in there, pull that backing off, and I'm using the back side of it, and I just kind of needed that little blob of stuff to remove the stickers. And we're going to use kind of like the middle section of that paper because I didn't want the little spots that were supposed to be nails. We're just going to use our handy dandy glue stick. That is one of the big ones from Target. I think I stole it from my kids. We're just going to press that all down. And if I see, I'm just kind of wiggling around trying to get it to where it will look right. And I'll just kind of go back and forth and getting in the right spot off camera, apparently. Sorry about that. Once we're happy with where it is, I will smooth it all out, and on the back side I'm going to actually add a piece of black chalkboard paper Got that from Joann's on clearance, and I love it. It's really, really thick, and it works really well. We're going to use some of these rub-on transfers from Dollar Tree. This is like the little reef that's part of it. I did use two reefs to make it big enough, and we're going to use our little bunny that's in, I believe, an 8-pack of the little wood rabbits from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to kind of just start to peel them off and start to place it. What I should have done was to do like one at a time. I did two on this first go around. I ended up doing two. And I know I've got a little bit of space in between, but we're going to use other leaf design things to fill it in. So that's like a little tip for you if you want a bigger area than what you have available. Use the little extra pieces in the set to fill in. I'm not going to show you, step by step every single piece I put down, but basically all you're going to do is give a good rub on it, and this is going, rubbing it right onto paper. So I was a little nervous to use this set because like everybody loves them and they're hard to bind, and I was like, oh, I don't want to waste them. But I rubbed it down a little bit with my finger and then went in with like the back side of my little scrapey tool, my little silicone hot glue holder. And it worked really, really well. I used a couple of different things. At one point, I even tried to use like my Cricut scraper for stuff, and this worked way, way better. So we're just going to use that. And like I said, it just peels up. It gives it a much lighter effect. Here it is with all the pieces I've added to it. Like I said, I've added in a couple little sprigs here and there that was on there. Kind of pushing back and forth, putting my little rabbit piece on there to see where I would end up with, where I would want it. We're going to fill in the hole with some wood filler, and like magic, because I had more than one of them, they came in a pack of 8, I switch it out. I've used my antique wax on that with the baby wipe, and we're going to do a quick, light, like whitewash of it. I didn't want to do too much, but I wanted to, I definitely didn't want it too much because you wanted to be able to see the wood grain in it, but I wanted to give it a little dusting of the white. So you just a tiny little bit, just a touch. And then we're going to take our twine and we're going to give it a little bow. I believe in my inspiration, which I'll show you at the end, it actually had raffia. I don't happen to have any raffia on hand, and I like twine. When it comes down to it, I like twine. I glue it on the back just to keep it from moving around too much, and then I'll just make a little simple knot, and we'll do just a teeny tiny little shoestring bow. I don't want too much too big, so we're just gonna, fix it the way it looks nice. Tuck in those little tails so they're coming down to the bottom part of the bunny. Trim off. Oh, no, that's right. I wanted it to sit a certain way, so I just kind of glued it down. Just a little tiny, bit of glue just to make it sit the way I wanted it to. And here's our little bunny. I'm going to put him aside because we are going to make another bunny. I am going to use this for the back side of my little house because I was like, you know what? I think it'd be super cute to have this be reversible. And I'm going to add a different rub-on transfer. We're just going to use that word right there. That's home. There was a couple of different choices. Just that's the one that I was like, you know what? That looks cute. Let's use that. And same kind of way everything works. Cut out the way you want it. Or I'm saying the stencil that you want or rub-on transfer that you want, whatever we're calling this right now. You're just going to cut that off however wording you want, put it on, rub it on, peel off the backing, and here you go. Away you go, as they say. I'm just going to hot glue that little guy down to wherever is on here. And I haven't used this as chalkboard yet, but I'm anxious to try that out. I was going to try to season it, but then I realized I don't have any white chalk, so I'll have to grab some of that the next time I go to the store. And we're going to glue our other bunny onto this side. And see, its ears and stuff are kind of covering up where the leaves look a little wonky. So now for the house, I did not want to give it like a full coat of the antique wax. I just wanted to darken it up a tiny little bit, and I really wanted to bring out a little bit more of that faux wood grain. I don't know, just something about it. Like I wanted it to stay light because, it is Easter time, it is springtime, everything is really light and just natural and maybe a little bit of pastels mixed in. I think will look really, really pretty with this particular house. I have to say, this project, I was so proud of myself on, the final result that you'll see here in a minute. Even my husband's like, oh, that looks like you bought it. I was like, well, I've never gotten that compliment before from you. I'll take it. So, like I said, we're going to do the inside as well as the outside of the house because you can see all of it. So, makes sense, right? Do it all. Do it all. Give it all the same basic look. It's up to you, however you want to do it. Go a little darker, go a little lighter. So, we're just going to stick the house onto our little spot here and add our hot glue to it. Don't be like me. Don't go over the sides. I swear, I don't know sometimes. I don't know. It goes right along with the fact that I can't make a straight line with a ruler. I also cannot put a straight line of glue down either. So here it is. And there's the top. You can see the inspiration. I've got the front. I've got the back. I'm really happy. It's super, super cute. Next, we're going to use one of these little welcome signs. And it's really funny because the welcome is actually upside down compared to like the backing. I kind of destroyed the backing a little bit with it. So I sanded it down and then added the white paper. Not white paper. The white paint. That's Adirondack White by Folk Art. And then we're going to go over with some Parisian gray. And I went way too heavy on this. I barely took anything off the brush, apparently. So don't do that if you're trying just to do a little bit of distressing. But it's okay. I'm just going to go back over with the white, tone it down just to make it not so, streaky. It was very streaky. So we are just going to clean it up with some more of that white paint. Not a big deal, not at all. So, and of course, because I'm not patient, do you think I waited for it to dry before I added on my decal? No, of course not. Why would we do something like that? But it just says Easter Blessings, and I like this. I actually picked it out from Sofancy, I think is the site. I actually found it for free. I'll link it for you below. If you're watching this, the day it's posting, I think that it should still be free this week. They do like a weekly free thing. Every week they have free ones, and then they have a daily one. This is one of the weekly ones. Definitely go check it out. Like I said, I'll link it for you below. And if you do not have a Cricut, I advise just go check out those sites too, because you can get them, and usually they include an SVG file, which you would use for your Cricut or whatever, but then they also will sometimes include like a PDF. So definitely recommend, even if you don't have a Cricut, to go check it out, because on this project, you could have just printed this out on a piece of paper, added a little distressing over it, and it would have given you a very similar result. If you don't have a Cricut, you could even do something like this. So I highly recommend it. When you can, get it for free, guys, because nobody want to pay all that extra money for the buying decals when you can get them for free. So just to kind of get everything to kind of flow all together, I'm going to add some more of those little pieces off of that Raubon transfer set. And same idea here. See, here I am. I'm going to try my little Cricut scraper thing, and I peel it up and it doesn't work. And like I said, on here, when you're doing any of these rub-ons, if you start to peel it up and you notice that it's still on the transfer, just put it back down and rub it a little bit more. It works so well. So it works really well when your paint is dry all the way too. I ended up adding another one after the fact because it felt like it needed a little something else, like right next to the B. And when I did that, I peeled up some of the paint. So like I said, don't be like me. Be patient and let it dry. All right, so here's our little box. I liked the color of it, and it's not really like, if I covered it with anything, it's not going to give it any kind of look to it other than just painted. So I took out all of the little nails that were there, and I'm just going to put glue in the corners. This way, if I ever wanted to pop it back out and put something else on it, it's not too difficult to do. And here is our end product. There's our little, inspiration as well. I really like it though. I think I might like mine better. All right, so on here, this is actually a project that was inspired by someone I saw post on a Facebook group. The person who posted it, her name is Jennifer, and she actually has like a little shop up in, I believe, Michigan called Mirakai Moon. I might be saying that completely wrong, but I will link it below in the description box so you can check it out. She posted it, these little bunnies that are made out of these dice. Absolutely adorable. I couldn't get over how cute they were, and I even asked her, I said, hey, is it all right if I make these on my YouTube channel? I'll link you, your stuff on here. I just thought they were too cute. So when I'm doing this, I decided it needed more than one of these balloons, so I did use 2 of the 15 or I'm sorry, the 12-inch balloons from Dollar Tree. And you just cut off the end so that you can, get it on there to fit. Be careful. This is a latex balloon, so if you have any kind of allergy to latex, it is made out of latex, and it has the powdery stuff like that you would have if you had like latex gloves. My husband actually has an issue with the powder from latex gloves, so I was like, well, I better make sure I mention that before somebody else tries to make this, and then they're worried about it making their hands break out or something like that. So if you have that problem, just be forewarned that that's an issue with this. I even tried to paint the dice. It didn't paint that great, but you could get away with it. So we're going to add our ears. This is just a couple of pieces of felt. I actually freehanded this. Guys, freehanding is not something that's normally in my vocabulary. So if I can freehand these little ears, you can too. When you're freehanding them, what I would recommend, make one set and then use that to kind of make a stencil out of the other set. You know what I mean? That way they're kind of similar, at least kind of close in size, kind of close in shape, that kind of thing. Otherwise, you'd have some wonky looking ears if they were a little different, but you never know. Sometimes bunnies can be wonky, right? So we've got our ears on there, and then next we are going to take a little bit out of these like pearl wrap things that you can get from Dollar Tree. I painted them black. You could also do this with a Sharpie. If you're going to do it, I definitely recommend after you put them on your bunny to go over them just a little bit more with paint, because it does kind of tend to scratch off. And then the nose is just a little heart stud from Dollar Tree as well. It's super cute. I love it. And then we're going to use some floral wire, also from Dollar Tree. We're just like almost all Dollar Tree stuff today, I tell you what. I just cut it down, twirl it around like my finger or a pencil or something like that. And then we're going to just paint that black. You could even leave it green. It just depends on, on you. It's all about you. If you think you need to paint it, paint it. I painted it because I thought the little whiskers were cuter if they were black as opposed to being green. If you can find black floral wire, more power to you. You can skip the painting. Just a tiny little dab of glue. And I even wiped off a little bit of it because I didn't want to have glue all over my little bunny's face, even though I think one of these little guys that I made has glue pretty much all over his face or her face, however it is. And then I was like, well, you know what? We need to make a little bow for in front of their ears. So I'm going to make just a little messy bow, just putting a couple of strips of, I can't talk today, sorry. A couple of strips of ribbon. We're just going to tie it down using some twine just to give it a nice little cinch. And then we're just going to wrap the twine around it, as you see here. And once you've done that, you're going to have a nice little center-ish spot for your bow. Once you do that, you're going to kind of pull it tight, tie a little knot. And you know what? It probably would have been a lot more sense if I'd gone like the opposite direction, like one side goes one way, one side goes the other, but I don't know. Sometimes I think about these things after the fact. I'm like, yeah, that might have made more sense. So we're just gonna trim up any little bits of messiness on the edges of our ribbon. We're going to glue that little guy down. Be careful too on, since these are balloons, if you have anything that's super, super hot, like if your glue gun is really, really hot, it might like get a little hole. So just be warned. And then I'm going to take another one of those little hearts and put it in the middle. I just thought that was a cute little touch. There's lots of different things. You could do all kinds of bows. Here's my set that was my inspiration. And then there's the little set I made, including my wonky little guy. I thought he was kind of funny. So if you're interested in knowing how to do the feet, just let me know. I'll be happy to let you know how to do that. So now that we are at the end of the video, I'm going to show you real quick all that we ended up with, all of our projects. All right, so here they all are, really cute, perfect for Easter or even just a little spring. And of course, I have to include my fail for you for this week. So here was my inspiration, and that's kind of what I ended up with. You guys will have to tell me what I need to do to make a gnome because I can't seem to do it. So first we're going to start off with some of these wood bunnies from Dollar Tree, and I painted all 3 of them in Folk Art Whispering Wheat. And then I am going to give them a little bit of a shadowing effect, and I don't pay any attention to this paint that's already on there and the paint next to it because I tried something different, I didn't like it, and I just ended up going over it with the folk art and antique wax because it was really weird. The paint combination I made, it made it look purple. So that wasn't going to work for me on this particular project, at least. Nothing to say there's anything wrong with purple, but not with this one. I don't want my bunnies to have bruised ears and feet. So once I've done that, I'm going to take some of these little Scrabble tiles. I got these from Walmart back at like Valentine's Day. And we're going to spell out every bunny welcome. And when you're doing this, make sure you use some wax paper instead of a piece of Post-it note. Sometimes I just grab whatever is nearby to, you know, put something on, paint, used to dab paint off. You know what it is. It's just like whatever's nearby that you can use. But I am just going to glue all of those letters together. And I'm thinking I'm showing you every single one of them. I'm not really sure why I thought that was a good idea, but that's okay. You get to see the cuteness that are these little letters. I know they sell them in various other places, but like I said, I got these at Walmart right around Valentine's Day. I saw Savannah from Savvy Crafts with Savannah, goodness. And she had some of them, and I thought they were too darn cute to pass up, so I'm glad I got them. And I just barely had enough ease. I used every last one. For a second there, I thought I was going to have to like draw an extra line on an F, but I was able to find all the letters I needed. And who knows what I can make with the rest of those letters now. So once we've gotten all of those together, we're going to actually paint this little crate from Dollar Tree with some more antique wax. You know how it is, guys. We love our antique wax. And I will also be using like the baby wipe method. I wanted it to be a little bit darker. Like I didn't want it to come too close to the color of the bunnies. So when I was doing that, I was like, well, I'm still going to use my baby wipe because it's so much faster and easier. But I don't want to wipe away as much of the stain, if that makes any sense to you. So I do not bother doing the inside because we are going to fill the inside with some stuff that's very Easter-esque or spring-esque, depending on your preference. And then once we're done with this, eventually... and I thought about whitewashing it too and kind of just decided I just was going to leave it the wood color. So now that this guy is done, we're going to take our bunnies and we are going to start to put them together. Now this idea kind of came from Chic on the Cheap's channel. She did something similar with some pumpkins, which I did towards the very, very beginning of my YouTube world. And it was really cute. And even my husband was like, oh, I liked those pumpkins. So I wanted to do the same thing with the bunnies. So we're just going to glue them all together. And on here, I actually used this Gorilla Glue. It's very similar to E6000. It sets up a lot faster than E6000. Like it doesn't require that 24-hour, wait for it to hold on to anything, but it still needed the hot glue. So I am going to still do that. And I'm sorry, this is going to be some wonky angles and stuff because, the bunnies are kind of big. If you hadn't seen them yet in store, they're a little bit big. So once we've gotten them all glued together, I'm going to go ahead and add my letters. Now, because I did this at such a strange angle, the first one kind of ends up like not even, but not angled. You know what I mean? Like it's that weird in between. So I was like, oh, well, we're just going to go with it. So I'm going to go ahead and glue the same way though. I'm going to use the Gorilla Glue in combination with the hot glue and then get any excess glue that kind of seeped out around it. So I do that for each one of them. And now we're going to add our yardstick kind of thing. So I'm using a mop handle from Dollar Tree and I broke off the end of it and I kind of bent it around with pliers and it was such a weird way of doing it. I couldn't really get it within the camera angle, so you'll have to take my word for it. If you have a pair of pliers and you buy one of these, it's really easy because you don't even bother trying to saw it if you're doing something like this. So I am doing some, on this one I am doing E6000 just because I wanted, I wanted it to not hold as fast, if that makes any sense. But because I wanted to be able to move it around a little. And then we're going to take, there you go, okay. It's like, am I taking that glue gun? Am I not taking that one? We're going to take the glue gun and we're just going to coat that mop handle like as thoroughly as possible. Oh, and by the way, I did attach my little crate to the bottom of my bottom bunny. Same way I did with the letters. So I realized I didn't film that part, so I needed to tell you. So once that has done and I've gotten the handle mostly secured, I do add some glue on the side of it. And to add a little bit more security and a little bit of cuteness, I'm going to add a bit of twine to wrap around his neck. I'm going to make it a little bow tie. Don't worry, it's not like he's just going to have a random piece of twine around him. But I am going to use that to kind of hold on to that handle as well, just because I was like, well, I don't know that the glue, that obviously the E6000 hasn't dried yet, and I want to make sure that that guy is secure. So I'll put down some hot glue to hold that twine in place a little bit, and I'll probably, even now that I'm thinking about it, go back and add some more glue on top of it too. And I'm going to use these little embellishments. I'm going to paint the eggs, use some stuff like that for the basket. And there it is. So stinking cute. I can't help though. So next one we're going to move on to is we're going to take one of these little, wood box things from Dollar Tree and paint it with plaster from Waverly. And now I'm going to just draw on my lines. And I do a really good job keeping them straight until the very last one, of course, right? Isn't that the way of it? So I'm just using my ruler, lining it up with the edge. And you guys know how I am with lines. I'm not very good at them. So of course, it's like I did such a good job, I think, on the first ones. And then this one right here, I was like, well, let me make it off a little bit as far as, not being all the way the same size. And of course it's a little slanted, but that's all right. It's going to be at the bottom, so hopefully it's not as noticeable. I'm going to go in with the same plaster colored paint and go over the lines a little bit, just because I don't really want to say camouflage, but you know what I mean. I want them to dull down a little bit. And I'm also going to take my finger sander. I'll have that little guy linked for you below. It's from Target, that I found it at least. And I'm just going to kind of scrape off some of it off of those lines. A couple of spots looked really dark, like the black Sharpie part looked pretty dark. And I didn't do anything to the sides as far as like paint, but I am just going to go ahead and rough it up a little bit. And just so you know, oh, there's my little ladybug. I did sand off that thing to start off with. So I'm going to put down my decal. No need to see that. And I've got another one. This is to make a little sign for a bunny to hold. It says, "Here, bunny, bunny, bunny." I thought it was funny. So I can't help myself sometimes. So I'm just going to take that. That was actually just a piece of one of the little tags, and I just cut off the edge. So I am going to use this little basket I have painted from a previous DIY, and it is just a black matte spray paint. So we're going to glue the back part of the sign down onto that rim. Hold on to it for just a minute because you want your glue to set up. And I'm guessing, I didn't try it out, mind you, but I'm guessing that is probably not enough to hold on to it. So I add another layer of glue, and obviously you can see it drips all over the place. And then I'm going to add just a really small skewer to it to kind of add, just give it some more area to hold on to, really. Hold it just for a minute, and then I'm going to go ahead and lay it down. And I'm going to try to get some more things to secure it. So I'm really worried that it's not going to stay. And then, of course, this glue stick was too big, or glue gun was too big to fit in that little spot. So I'm just going to add some glue to a thicker dowel and put it on the bottom side. Obviously, that doesn't look real cute, but I'm not too concerned about it because that is on the underside of it. You really won't see it from the angle that you're going to look at this basket. So we're just going to glue it in there, and I'm going to add some more glue on top for additional security because we're just gluing the heck out of this thing. And see, it's kind of holding still, it's holding on, but I'm still afraid it's going to end up toppling over. So I'm just going to add another piece of wood. I'm going to just add this piece of paint stir stick that I cut down using my miter shears. I'm going to link those for you below as well. So now we've got the basket done. I was trying to figure out how to put it down. I'm going to start to work on the rest. And as you can see, it needs some weight in the basket. So I have some rocks in there. I know, so strange. I'm going to go ahead and put some glue down on this little galvanized bunny. He's from another sign off of Dollar Tree. He's going to be holding this lovely little sign for his, bunny mate or something. I don't know. I don't know why I came up with that little story in my mind. I was like, oh, he's trying to attract another bunny. He needs a girlfriend bunny. or a boyfriend bunny. I'm really not sure what he is. I should probably add a bow somewhere to depict whether he's a boy or a girl bunny. All right, so back to the craft. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and work on placement for this little guy, and I want to still be able to see my words, obviously. I mean, you go to the trouble of putting words on something, you want to be able to see them. And by the way, that font is from DaFont. It's called Magnolia. It's super cute. And so I'm going to start filling up my basket. Pretty simple. I was originally going to make a carrot, and it turned out horrible. So I'm just going to put these ones that I got from the dollar spot at Target. They're really cute. I grabbed every color they had, and they're adorable. Isn't it adorable, though? I mean, come on. How cute is that? So we're going to actually start out with some pumpkins from Dollar Tree. I paint all 3 of them in plaster from Waverly. And I did sand them down, too. I sanded around, kind of rounding out those sharper edges to give them more of an egg shape-ish. I know they're not really egg-shaped, but they're rustic and they're primitive. So that's where I was going with it. I cut out these stencils off of my Cricut. They're just a, little stencil, or not a stencil, but they're a thing that's available on Cricut Design Space. I'll link it for you below if you have their access there. Not, they're free if you have the access, if you pay for it, you know what I mean. But I'm going to just put them all down, and I don't know why I was like so particular on this one. I tried to really fix it down. I taped around where any of the little dots were, and I think what ended up making it, I don't end up using a little sponge brush. I do end up using a regular brush, but I probably could have skipped this. So if you make these, you can probably skip this. I was actually looking for stencils from Dollar Tree that actually had different patterns and stuff to use, and I couldn't find any, so I made my own. So I'm going to start off on the very first one. We're using this kind of the same colors that we used on the first project's eggs, and this is just going to be the lavender color from Waverly. I don't recall the exact name of it. I will link it for you below, or not link it, but I'll list it for you. If you're ever curious about that, about the paint colors or supplies or anything like that, I always have them listed at the very least, or a lot of times if it's like an Amazon thing, I'll link it for you as well, like a lot of my tools and all that. You guys know I love my tools, so I link them for you below. If it's an Amazon link, it's typically an affiliate link, and I certainly appreciate if you guys use it. If you don't, it's not a big deal. It doesn't cost anything extra for you. So with that little disclaimer out of the way, like I said, I'm just kind of dabbing at these little spots. I'm trying really hard not to brush it, because I'm trying to obviously keep it from bleeding over into the bottom part. And now we are going to go through the longest process of taking off a stencil. This thing gave me so much problems. I taped it down in way too many places, and it's funny, I still ended up with a few little bleeds. So not too bad, but just a few. So like I said, longest process ever. So I'm just going to skip ahead and get off the majority of it off camera. And now we'll start to actually peel it back and get a little bit of that satisfying moment of peeling off painter's tape and stencil vinyl. And like I said, it's just like this thing was on there. And like I said, I still got bleeds, which was crazy. So I'm glad that I made sure that the paint was mostly dry, because otherwise I was afraid I probably would have ruined it if I had done it when it was really wet. So here's that one all finished. I did the other 2 as well, but I'm just showing you this one for now. And I'm going to add just a little bit of distressing on the edges of this, because I am going to make this one a reversible pumpkin, not a pumpkin egg. See, even I still think they look like pumpkins a little bit. But anyways, I'm going to make this a reversible egg. And so I'm just going to, of course, add the antique wax all along the other side. This is going to be kind of like one side's really traditional Easter, one side's a lot more neutral farmhouse Easter. If I make everything like neutral farmhouse, my kids and my husband will get upset. They're like, look, this isn't the right colors for this season or holiday. So I cut this little strip of ribbon. I got that one from Joann's, and it's really pretty. It's like this dusty pink rose color. So I just went ahead and cut it and glued it down to our egg. And now I'm going to use a couple of pieces of a floral pick. So I've got these little leaves. I went ahead and just arranged those, and I'm going to add just a little sprig of lavender. And it was still missing something, so I am going to add a little bit of a jute bow as well. Now when I make my little jute bows, I glue them together. I don't use the twine to try and get it to stay. I just go in it with some glue. So, and of course, it's like this thing didn't want to work out for me, so I had to like chop it off and start again. And did I show you starting again? I thought I did, but oh, yep, here we go. See, I'm making the bow right now off camera because, of course, who wouldn't want to watch that? So here it is, since I had to chop off that other piece, and I'm just going to go ahead and add that little bow in, and someday it'll be done. There we go, all finished. So here is the final look between both sets of eggs. I think they're really cute. I actually kind of like the colorful ones. They're kind of fun. So on this next project, we are going to start off with one of these window panes and a bunny. So we do a coat of the folk art wood tint in walnut, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of dry brushing of that plaster color from Waverly. I focused in a little bit more than I probably should have on the ears, and I wanted to give a nice little dusting of it onto the tail because, of course, bunnies have fluffy tails, so everybody knows that. Gosh. All right, so once that's all finished, he needed a little something extra. And I'm just going to take a couple of pieces off of this rub-on transfer set from Dollar Tree. Obviously, you can see I've already used the reef. I actually did one of these little bunnies with a reef on him on a previous video. I will link it for you. It was a really cute project. I'll definitely I suggest checking it out if you haven't already. So we're just going to put that down there. I like to use the end of this little scraper. I know it's a very technical use for this. That's not even a craft tool. That little thing I use to push down my hot glue, and it is actually a face mask applicator, I think. You know how it is. We crafters, we find all kinds of different uses for different things. So I'm gonna put a little bee on the middle. I don't know, it might be for Theresa B, it might be for Bunny, but you know, you just make up your own thing, you know, if you end up making this project. So now that all those are on there, we're going to go ahead and put him back on his little window. And I actually did a coating of the antique wax on the window just to kind of bring out some more of that faux wood grain. It's definitely got like a little bit of a grain to it, even though it's plastic. I mean, and it's like cheap plastic. So be careful with that thing. Don't scrape it up because it'll scrape up really easy. And now it, of course, needs a stand. So we're just going to add some hot glue. And this is just a little thing I had left over from another project, I think from Christmas time. So, and I'm just going to make sure that it is on there mostly straight at least. And here it is, all finished. He's really cute. It's really, really cute. So next project we're doing, don't blink, it's going to be really fast. I'm just going to put on this stencil. I'll link it for you below. I made it on my Cricut. And then I'm just basically putting this one on and another one. These little blocks are from Dollar Tree as well. And here they are, a little Ray Dunn inspired project for you. So I hope that you guys loved all of those projects that were kind of hanging out, some of my favorites from last year. And I am so excited for the Easter and spring season. I've got a lot of fun things coming up. And don't forget, if you're new here, to subscribe, and I will see you next time.